You built a business people love, but behind the scenes, it's all on you. Vision to Grow is your space to lead with clarity, hire with purpose, and finally breathe again. I'm Chrissy, your no-fluff leadership expert, here to help you hire better and lead teams with less mess. Hello and welcome back to Vision to Grow. And hey, if you are joining for the first time, I'm so excited to have you here. I know that you are going to love today's episode. So I'm Chrissy L. I am your host of Vision to Grow, your integrator, HR recruitment nerd, systems maverick, and ADHD CEO who loves handling chaos so you don't have to. Now, this episode is both a bit of a wake-up call and a life raft. So we are very solutions focused on this podcast, but I want to support you if you are building your business on brilliance, but wondering why everything feels like it is running on Post-its, sticky tapes, and fumes. Let's face it. Now, this episode is going to be perfect for you if you're a visionary. If you don't know what visionary is, that's cool. It sounds awesome, right? But I'm going to explain what that is. So if you're a visionary, your ideas light up a room, your clients absolutely love you, and your services are premium, and your inbox is constantly full. However, on the flip side, your operations can feel like a jigsaw missing half the pieces. You're answering the same team questions and crawling through tangled documents. And sometimes working in your business feels like an absolute version of the Hunger Games. So potentially you are the problem, but you're also the answer. Now, I just want to talk you through what a visionary is. And we are drawing from, look, visionary isn't a new word, but when I'm talking about it, I'm drawing a lot from Gino Wickman and books that he has written, like very well-known business books. If you haven't read them, I highly recommend it, particularly Rocket Fuel. Amazing business books. But when he talks about visionaries, he talks about their personality types. So a visionary is very much, think of your typical CEO, right? So Mark Zuckerberg is a famous visionary. You're Richard Branson. Elon Musk, such a visionary. Big ideas. And why have I just said all men? How annoying is that? I would say probably Jane Liu of ShowPro. I'm guessing she's a visionary. But yeah, people talk about Mark Zuckerberg all the time, and then his working relationship to compensate for that. So a visionary is that classic entrepreneur, the big ideas, the trigger, the dreams. They've got laser focus. They are brilliant. They are magnetic in person. Lots of ideas, so much drive, and then that hyper focus. A lot of the time it is referred to as people having a bit of ADHD traits, but you walk into a room and people are drawn to you, right? And you love the idea of the business. You get really excited. You've probably got loads of ideas on the go at once. But sometimes you can get a little bit bored, and you don't necessarily, you are a big picture why person. You want to get to your end result, but you don't necessarily love treading into the weeds. Now, in parallel to the visionary, when we're looking at Gino Wickman's Rocket Fuel work, he also talks about an integrator. And I can talk to an integrator really well because I am an integrator. Look, I've got some visionary traits, like I am diagnosed ADHD, but an integrator is the person who loves translating visionaries' chaos into clarity and getting it done. So we'll dig into this more and what that looks like. But I guess if I talk about myself, like I froth off of a visionary personality. So quite often my business coaches are visionaries. They're like, so ideas, they're fabulous at marketing, their reels are always lit. Their LinkedIn's like a total vibe. And I always love their vision. You know, they want to make impact and change the world with their millions of ideas. The thing is, they don't necessarily love doing the bit to get it done. And that's where someone like me, an integrator, would absolutely come in. So I love hearing where visionaries are at. So let's take that as A, and where they want to get to, C. And I like working out all the B in the middle. Like, what's it going to take? What's the data? What's the numbers? How do we get you to your goals? What does the return on investment look like of what you're investing in? What is the profit you want to make? Like, I love that stuff. Who do you need to make it happen? What tech? What systems? I mean, I'm sure you're listening to that and going, blech. That is not me. The issue is, according to a lot of research that I will share with you, but if you're trying to be both, if you're living and working in duality, you're trying to be a visionary, like showing up, marketing, excitement, big ideas, but then you're trying to do the do and work out the problems and work out the solutions. It's a bit yucky, and it will impact your scaling, and there's a good chance it could lead you to burnout. And this matters, right? So look, I talk a lot on this podcast about entrepreneurs and quite often female entrepreneurs, drawing from my own experience. When we're trying to juggle both roles, it is like building a bridge while sprinting across it. You're busy, you're brilliant, but you're exhausted because you're literally building and running your business at exactly the same time. And think of those energy shifts you've got to make, right? Like your visionary, your ideas, you're showing up on your marketing, you're being the face of the business. And then you're like, okay, well, but this afternoon I've got to go and work through a project plan, and I've got to do automations, and I've got to speak to my VA. Like it's a lot, right? And it's conflicting. So dialing back to this story around the visionary integrator piece, so I knew myself and what I love. Like I've always shown up as in service, right? So if you think about my career history, and if you're new, I can share that with you now, but I'm from that integrator, service-based, account management, recruitment, projects, and it is all about solving problems. Projects is perfect because and my last role internally in corporate was working as a resource manager on a project. Like at no point is it my idea what we're working towards. I am just one of the people finding the solution. So there is a problem, and it's a great example, that role, because it was working in a bank and it was projects to do with like applications and technology. So there will be a problem. Like there will be a problem with compliance, or a problem with privacy, or a problem with culture in the business. And they will be uplifting tech platforms to deal with that. So you've got the problem, and then a really clever business analyst and team of architects and a program director under that would work out through a series of workshops, etc., what the solution was going to be. But they need the people in the middle to build it and do the do. And obviously these are multi-million dollar projects. So it is a lot of people. I was quite often hiring and building organizational structures of the people who were going to solve that problem. So I was just one part of it because it was huge. But I'm not a solutions person. I'm not coming up with the idea. I'm just working on, like, I'm being given a budget and saying, right, well, who are the people that we need to hire to solve this problem? And it is so exciting for me. So I picked up Rocket Fuel after my amazing biz friend and client, MG. I started doing work for her in exactly that, right? So she had a very lean team. She knew she needed to grow it to meet her business goals because she was growing her membership and her service offering. She's basically doubling it. So she needed the support. So she was very much, this is where I'm at, and these are my ideas, and these are the numbers I want to get to. What support do I need? And as the integrator, I was like, right, well, you need this, but you need these people. But you not only need these people, you need those systems. Obviously, if you know MG, she's massively into AI. So AI almost became a part of the team and the solution. And she had that. But she also needed other people with that brain to bounce it off and grow and then serve her community. When I picked up Rocket Fuel, and yeah, so that was the conversation. So she said, Chrissy, you're an absolute integrator. Have you read Rocket Fuel? Start talking about that, because I don't know that everyone understands it. And she handed me the book, Rocket Fuel, and said, read it, or sent me the link, and I downloaded it. And I was like, oh my God, this is 100% how I see business. Like, I will gravitate towards a visionary who's got an amazing idea, and I will get so excited about finding the breaks and fixing them and coming up with solutions and making it happen and finding team. There's a quiz in that book, and it's a visionary quiz and an integrator quiz. And I did that quiz. I scored something insane, like 95% integrator under the integrator profile. And on the visionary profile, I did score 2. Because I have got those like slightly chaotic integrator traits. I guess what's really interesting for me is that I have worked in corporate and big corporate organizations. So my first career job was in one of the biggest recruitment agencies globally. Then I went to the biggest bank in Australia. Then I went to the biggest government departments, and then the biggest telco in Australia. And the thing is, my working was all supported by systems that were already in place. And I thrive in that environment, right? So if there is a system, I feel great. I can just show up, I can do my job. If I don't, it feels really stressful for me until I've gone and built a system for myself. So for me, the idea is the harder part. I will find a way to build the system to make it happen and to make it freaking easy. Now, I did touch on my ADHD diagnosis. I was diagnosed with ADHD in March of this year, and it lit everything up. Suddenly, things clicked and it explains so much. And here's the truth, right? ADHD brains thrive with structure. Not rigid rules, but systems that let your brilliance run wild while grounding the chaos. Why? Well, because predictable routines lower stress, boost dopamine, and free up mental space to create, to be visionary, to be creative. That is not my opinion. That is from research from fastcompany.com, and they are a UK-based company that do research on entrepreneurs and leadership. So definitely look at that article. It's really interesting. Fastcompany.com. Now, my corporate background gave me the systems to follow, and guess what? I own them. I implemented them. But here's the thing, as a medicated system-loving ADHD brain, I knew that I had to build systems that stuck in my business. Not because they're rigid, but because they're flexible enough to go with the flow. And that is absolutely what I do for my clients. I have a client at the moment in the beauty industry. She has premium offers. She is passionate and she's fully booked out, but she still has to run her business. So she came to me and said, I need some support. I need some support with my socials. I need some support with my booking systems, with emails, with managing the clients, because she has a lot of repeat clients because of the premium service she delivers. So she came to me thinking, okay, I'm going to hire a virtual assistant or two to do the tech backend and do the socials. And I supported her. We hired them. But then the penny sort of dropped for both of us on this process. She actually didn't want to manage the VAs. She is a visionary who has worked in her industry for years, is really well regarded, and she wanted to lead. She wanted to serve her customers, and she wanted to be in her zone of genius and not fluff about with the business stuff. It's not that she can't do it. She's done it for years, but she'd hit a ceiling essentially because she was putting time into integrator tasks that did not serve her. So she now brings me on as her integrator and her business manager, and my team of exceptional operations people, in that is offshore VAs and Australian resources, we handle that execution for her. So she gets to lead again without the chaos. So that is visionary brilliance backed up by practical support of integrator type personalities who actually love that work. Now I've actually paused recording this episode to pick up my rocket fuel book, right? So I want to be really clear. This visionary integrator, it's not my opinion. It's not my concept. It is, as I said, written by Gino Wickman, but the word visionary has been around for a really, really long time. And if you're thinking visionary, you might be hearing things like seeing the future, like visionary, we're thinking of the woo-woo side of it. So as a visionary, you'd be great with research and development, definitely more research for new products and services. You have a pulse on the market and industry, and you kind of get what is coming. I bet this is resonating with you hard if you are a visionary. You might see a new product or service come out and be like, yeah, I thought about that. You're totally finger on the pulse. I love this piece of the book that talks about John F. Deeney's book, Hunter Mentality. So he calls visionaries hunters, which means you are wired differently than most. You are always hunting. So you have this energy where you want to show up for ideas, for deals, for opportunities, and big solutions to big problems. Deeney actually describes you as having the ability to navigate in the fog. So you're going to keep moving in the right direction, even when you don't have a compass and there aren't signposts. I freaking love that analogy. So you're not there to manage, you're there to explore ideas, creativity, vision, tenacity, but you're not really going to get lit up by policies and procedures. Now, Gino goes on to say the visionary role here is what you do. So think of what you do, or if you're not doing it, what you should be doing, because it aligns with your energetics, right? So you're an entrepreneurial spark plug. You love to inspire. You are passionate. You love to develop big ideas and breakthroughs, and you love thinking about the big problems, but not getting into the nitty gritty. Let's be really clear about that. You love to engage, and you love to leverage big relationships. You like to close a big deal, and you love to learn. You probably really love reading, and you are absolutely in a company, in your own business, the visionary creator and the champion. He talks about the consistent traits that are really common to visionary. So you are often a founder, like we talked about that, didn't we, with the Mark Zuckerberg piece. You've got loads and loads of ideas. And I keep saying that over and over again because it is so true of the visionaries I work with. You love to see your big picture thinking, or big sky thinking. You're inspirational. Here is what you are not good at. You're not naturally great at staying focused. So you can get bored quite easily, and you start creating a bit of chaos just to spice things up. It's that real trait where you'll get a big chunk of the work done and then you're like, ugh, I want to go do something else. And you get maybe too many ideas, which gives you whiplash. You get organizational whiplash. This means that the visionary, you can turn your head and there'll be a new idea. Or for anyone who's working for you, that can feel quite hard because they want to just get on with their job, right? Like if you've got a team and you're working for a visionary, like most people who aren't entrepreneurs, they're there to do a job, and they're going to get their satisfaction from delivering something, from moving forward. But imagine if they're constantly starting on a project or a piece of work and then you've changed your mind. Like that's hard. You're not a big fan of sweating the details necessarily. You just want the end result. So I love this section here where he says, this is your challenges, and I'm not here to be negative because I've talked so much about how amazing you are, but you can be a little bit inconsistent. You can end up having a bit of a dysfunctional team because there is a lack of openness and honesty because they are a bit confused of what is going on. Although you might know that these aren't your strengths, because it is your baby, your business, you might find it a little bit hard to let go of all of this nitty gritty. You get bored easily. We talked about the ADHD side of things. And, you don't love processes. You find it really boring, right? So you may appreciate them, but you're resistant to it, right? On the flip side of that, and you can hear the pages rustling because I just think this is so interesting, right? And I'm so excited to share it with you. Your integrator, we are looking at their traits. They are really accountable. They like self-management. They are decisive. They love a bit of planning and organization. Like I joked in one of the previous episodes about my holiday spreadsheet. Hilarious. I was actually talking to a friend yesterday. It was yesterday, yeah. I was talking to her about what she was like, what was you like as a child? And I said, I was Bluey. The TV show Bluey? I loved organized play. My girl cousins were freaking terrified of me. And I had this real Bluey bingo dynamic with my sister. So I was like, right, we're going to play this game and it's going to have these rules, and I'm so fun, right? But we're going to have these rules. So we had it was the 90s, right? So we had all of our stuffed toys, and my stuffed toys owned a video library and her stuffed toys ran a school, and there was rules and there was it's a joke, but there was system. I was 7 and there was systems in a place, these were the rules. This is how we did things. If someone wanted to get promoted, they had, it's insane. The goals. But that was me, that integrator, the team cohesion, kicking goals, thinking conceptually, being resilient, being adaptable. And I picked up this book and I was like, oh my God, that's legit me. I think what we find hard is, I think it can be seen as a bit negative because you see the problems, right? You hear what people are saying, you're like, that's great, but what about this? And those visionary types, they can be in flow. They don't necessarily want to hear about how it could go wrong. And for me, I'm not trying to be negative when I see a problem, because I'm like, okay, well, this is a potential problem, but here's the solution. And I could go really deep into all this dorky projects and HR stuff that I love to manage the problems, like risk logs, rate logs. I won't do it. That's what I'm working on in the back end with my clients. Here's a potential risk, but here's how we're going to fix it. Sometimes we've got to do a bit of the dirty work in the business. So we've got to have the tough conversations with the team. Classic recruiter, classic HR. We have to fire people. We have to have really tough conversations. We've got to be the bearer of bad news and the bad guy. I have done so much of this stuff, it doesn't even bother me, right? And sometimes you can be accused of working a little bit slowly. Look, I'm pretty fast paced, but if you want something done, sometimes that's not how it's going to be because you've got all of these steps to take. So you get accused of working slowly. You're not working slowly, but you can't do things at an unrealistic speed that has been set for you, right? Now, after I've said that, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like you're in the visionary camp or in the integrator camp? And like, I can give you some common industries that I would typically see. So I think a lot of your integrators go into like OBM work. So they become business managers. They become some other great examples of it. They become like your more techie roles. I spoke to a guy on quiz night, the other night I went to quiz night, and he was a tester. And I'm like, yes, I can so resonate with you. So what I'm talking about is he's a tester in IT. Interestingly, I used to recruit testers in IT, but if you think of someone who's building an app, you get developers, the person making the app, and then on their team, you get a tester. And the tester is literally there to break that app. Right? The developer's the ideas person and they're testing it and they're pushing it forwards. And the tester is there to break shit. Like I've got that Linkin Park break stuff song in my head, right? Like Limp Bizkit. Is it Limp Bizkit? Linkin Park. The whole era. Like I'm here to break shit, you know? And they love that. It's like there's no pressure on them. The developer's like the ideas person and then the tester's there to break it so that the developer can make it better, you know? And I so get that. And look, I think if you're really serious about scaling a business, you need both of those energies in there. So visionaries, if you're hearing me, I think, you know, the title of this podcast app is Visionary Business Owners, You're the Problem and the Answer. I would say the shift you need is stop thinking systems are boring. They're not the enemy. They're the backbone that they are going to let your passion grow. But if you don't have them and you don't have that support from integrator energy, how do you get to show up as that? I ran a free masterclass yesterday and I am actually running it again in a few weeks. So I think this episode is dropping late September and absolutely have a look at the link in the show notes. But a free masterclass called Delegate Like a CEO. And we really touch on this bit. It's really looking at, you know, if you identify as a visionary, like what support do you have? What systems do you have? What are the gaps? Because, I mean, essentially, so you can give yourself the CEO job you actually want, so you can show up at your business, so you can make impact. You know, impact is huge for visionaries. Like you are there to shake up the world, to make an impact. But if you never get your products and your services out there because there's no system, like that's going to burn you the F out, right? It is going to burn you out. So if I told you your business could run better without you micromanaging it every day, would you feel excited or terrified? I'm going to say that again. So if I told you, visionary, if you are a visionary, if I told you your business could run better without you micromanaging every day, would you feel excited or terrified? I'm just so interested to know how your brain reacts when I'm talking about that to you. You know, if that resonates, if that lands, I want to hear how you feel. Do you feel like, oh yeah, it would be so great to get that support, or, oh, I want to hold on to it all. And then whatever it's telling you, it's probably telling you need support in some capacity. Now, we talked about your visionary, your ideas, your passionate, your big picture thinking. And then we talked about your integrator who likes to get shit done. Let's reflect on that. Are you doing both roles now? Let's be honest. Is that optimal for you? And if you are a visionary and you adore being the bottleneck, look, I would definitely say as a first point, come to that free masterclass. Register it. The link is in the show notes. And we can talk through that. I smash that workshop out in 30 minutes. You get to work through it. And then we hot seat at the end. So come to me with your unique problems and we will work through it on that Zoom call. I love this episode. Like, it was so fun to record just because it's been on my heart for so long. Like, I love this book. And, you know, hands up, it is not my concept, but it is how I see my business. And just to be really clear, like as an integrator, I need the support of visionaries. I'm not always good at articulating what I'm good at, what my strengths are, because I'm not a visionary. Like marketing feels hard for my business. You know, podcast is perfect because I just get to talk to you, you know, and then get my message in from there. I have to work with visionaries who tease out of me this stuff. give me these talking points. I soundboard on them because I'm like, is this interesting? Because I just want to get on with shit and fix stuff for people in their business. There's weaknesses there, but I think Em would say the same thing, and other visionaries I've worked with. We'll ask MG. I will tag her in this and be like, hey, is this fair? But I work so well with those personality types that we get so much stuff done in either capacity because we are literally the yin to each other's yang. And it's so beautiful and so cohesive. And, if I get visionary injection into my business, it means I get to step into my zone of genius of getting stuff done. And to be clear, the integrators, as we get a little bit bigger than a few people, it's an integrator brain, but I have support to manage those systems, those tech from people who are zones of genius. The other big takeaway I want you to get before we go into the real takeaways, but some bigger topic that we want to reflect in is, why are we doing everything? Like, I talk about this all the time, but particularly female entrepreneurs, and look, go on my Instagram, there is stats all over it. Like, we do so much. In the 1950s, we were running a house and having a load of babies, and that is a full-time freaking job. Now, we are potentially doing that alongside running a business, running our household, and putting so much pressure on ourselves that everything has to be us. Because we're amazing. Because we are highly functional. But is that the life that you want forever? And is it sustainable? Or want you just to love to show up in your business and do the stuff that you actually like that makes you more money? And let go of some of the other stuff. And I'm like on such a rant now, and if you can do that and you can give someone else a job because you've got the money to support that, you get to make so much impact on someone else's life. Or a service provider, like, pay them to do stuff you don't want to make you more money, to give you more time. Like, it's just, how beautiful is that giving back? Like, that drives me too. Like, I love giving my money away to people for them to do stuff in my business that's going to get me results that I don't enjoy. Like, is that just me? Like, I think that's epic. So I was on one in this episode. I hope you liked it. I felt like this was a bit different today. So you tell me. I would love your feedback. Make sure you're following. If we can pause this right now. If you're driving, then don't do this. But you are listening while you're doing your cleaning, or while you're, in the background while you're at your desk doing your work. If you're not subscribed to this podcast, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're listening on. There's a button where you can keep listening to me. But if this resonates, this is what I talk about in every episode, right? It's the hacks for you as a leader and as a CEO doing the work that you love and getting support. It's systems, it's team, it's leadership. But let's be really honest about who we are and who we're not and what we want to achieve in our business. And, I talk about this in the free masterclass, but as a CEO, as the founder of your business, if you're not happy, there is so much stats and evidence that backs up that you are the head of your business. If you are not happy, your team feels that. I've just read Mel Robbins' Let Them. Freaking love Mel Robbins. I really do. I'm a massive fan of her podcast. And if you read her Let Them book, she's got a whole downloadable chapter on entrepreneurship and leadership in teams. And she works with her leadership coach on this chapter. And essentially, if you're not happy and you're not lit up, your team will feel that and your business will be less successful. So let's get you into a role that you actually love. Wow, I've clearly had so much coffee and so much meds for my ADHD today. But how fun is that, I get to show up and do this stuff that I love because I am supported by team. And I have a system, so recording a podcast does not take me a lot of energy. I have external help. I have a team who do all the bits and bobs. But it's nice to have this as a part of my job because I love to talk about what I do. And I want that for you too. So if you are a visionary, here is your 3 takeaways. Your ideas are gold. It's just not your job to necessarily build the system to realize those ideas. 2 is stop being the glue. I talk about this in different words, but being the glue, being the bottleneck, stop being the glue. Let someone hold your chaos so you can hold your vision. Let it be someone else's job to figure out the tech and the back end and the people that you need to get there. And you just focus on how freaking amazing it's going to be delivering your service, delivering your vision to the world. And 3, creativity blooms in clarity. Support and systems are not your cage. They are your launch pad. You've got support. You've got systems that work that are simple. and make it easeful for other people to deliver the work for you, you are so far ahead than the vast majority of small business owners. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. Please share your feedback on the podcast. It absolutely lights me up. I've had messages this week of how they loved episodes and what their takeaways are. And honestly, it just helps me keep going and delivering this content to you. As I said, if you want some in-person support, you want to test out what it is like to be with me, be on the call with me, be in the room, feel energized, get on that masterclass. It's 9th of October. I'll put a link in the show notes, and follow my website. I've always got freebies going on so you can test it out, so you can get a feel for it, in-person events. If you've listened all the way to this podcast, I'm fairly sure it's because you think it's a vibe, So let's connect. I'm excited. So visionary business owners, I want you to stop being the glue. I want you to work with an amazing integrator to build the system and get that support and lead the business you actually want to grow. Until next time.
Audience exclusive.